Get after it, STOP, instead of being all up in there. Because is this comfortable, girl? Are we having fun right now? No, this is stressful. When I'm doing psychoeducation with athletes, regardless of what the topic is, but usually when we know there's perfectionism, there's some heavily negative or very self-critical self-talk, when there's difficulties with pressure, when they really struggle to accept their own mistakes or they fear failure massively, we're probably at some point going to land in or around using the hexaflex model of cognitive flexibility. Now, in this theory, there are 6 mechanisms that lead to cognitive flexibility. We're not going to go over all of them here, but the 2 most difficult ones that I find for athletes are 1, being in the present moment. Here and now. This moment is the most important. Be here. This is the only one that counts, because often we're way in the past, or we're thinking 150 steps forward, or we're thinking about what everybody else is doing, but it's very rare that we are here in this moment where we are, which sounds funny because we always perform in the here and now, and yet it's so difficult for us to mentally and emotionally be in the here and now. That's why it's so critical for cognitive flexibility and also generally for health and high performance to learn how to be in the present moment and be okay with that. Even though there's emotions there, even though there's lots of thoughts there, sometimes we experience guilt and shame there. Learning how to be present is incredibly important. And that for me is number 1 on the hexaflex. Number 2 that I find the most important and also the most difficult for athletes is the concept of defusion. Now, fusion, being fused to something, might make more sense for most people. Defusion is just the opposite of that, decoupling, unhooking. Fusion is when we become one with our thoughts and feelings. We are hooked onto them. We have no distance from them. They are right in front of us. They are urgent. They are immediate. They are overwhelming. We feel something and we are in it. We think something and it becomes true and it becomes a priority immediately. However, in reality, just because we think or feel something, stay with me, doesn't make it true. And I'm going to hold your finger tip when I say this. Doesn't make it urgent. It doesn't mean it's something you have to do right now. It might not even be reality just because you're thinking and feeling, okay? That doesn't make you crazy. Nobody said that. Let's get that straight. Nobody said you're crazy. It just said your brain is having thoughts and feelings, which is congrats, the brain's job. Thoughts and feelings are information. Doesn't mean they're true. Doesn't mean they're urgent. Doesn't mean they're immediate. Doesn't mean we need to do something about them right now. We could just observe them, which is diffusion. Unhooking yourself from the thought, taking a step back with a little bit of distance and observing the thoughts instead of becoming one with them. Diffusion does not mean you should avoid those feelings. It doesn't mean you should ignore them. You should not deny them. You should not push them away and pretend like they're not happening if they're happening for you. Certainly doesn't mean you should deny that experience for other people either. Because when we learn diffusion as a skill, that doesn't suddenly make us emotionless. Although people who are heavily fused and can't gain any distance to their thoughts and feelings will see you as emotionless. They will see you as distant, uninterested, not seeing things that they find urgent. Their emergencies are no longer your emergencies, and you're not having a bunch of emergencies. It is possible that if you are around a lot of people who are heavily fused to their thoughts and feelings, whether this is in your team, whether this is in your family, a partnership with your coach, whatever, you might hear the accusation that you're cold, heartless, emotionless, distant, detached. This is a projection because they have no distance whatsoever to their thoughts and feelings. Everything is immediately present for them. They feel this, so it is the truth. And you taking a step back and having any distance at all is like, wow, you're so detached. No, you're just all up in there. No, because from here, one can observe the entire situation. You're stressed from being that close to your thoughts and feelings all the time. They're ruling you and yanking you back and forth. As soon as it pops into your mind, it is the truth for you. And as soon as it comes into your body, it is immediately urgent and you don't even get to decide. It might not even be true. It might not even be actually a priority or something urgent. And you didn't even get the chance to decide if it was or double check if it was because you just acted. Hopefully it's getting easier to understand why this is not necessarily helpful in sports. Self-talk during sport, especially for people who are, like I said at the beginning, extremely perfectionistic, tend to have difficulty with very negative and critical self-talk. People who have no empathy or self-compassion for themselves just generally struggle with stress or fear of failure, things like that. I think by now you can probably understand why defusion tends to be more helpful than fusion to those thoughts and feelings because those thoughts and feelings become true if you are fused to them. And if you're defused to them, you can take a step back and say, hey, just because my performance last time was not what I wanted doesn't mean I'm going to fail this time. Even though the thoughts in my head are saying that I am, they're saying that I'm worthless, that I'm not good enough, I didn't train enough. But you know what? Actually, I did. And I'm going to go out and try and have fun today regardless because I know that my past doesn't determine the future. So I'm going to be here now. That's presence and defusion in one. So when we unhook ourselves from the thought, or when we unhook ourselves from a feeling, again, not denying it, just seeing it as an automatic event that our brain gave us because that's what brains do. It doesn't have to influence our behavior immediately. Those thoughts and feelings are allowed to happen. We are allowed to notice them. And then we can choose how we behave or what action we take based on our values, what's important in this moment, the context, the situation. Suddenly, we're back in the driver's seat and not my feelings. That gives us so many more options and therefore, cognitive flexibility. So fusion is like walking around with your hands in front of your eyes. You can only see what's immediately present right in front of you, and you force yourself to act on that because that feels immediately important because it literally is all you can see. Whereas you could zoom out, you're still seeing your hand, right? We're not just like avoiding it. We're not just looking away. We're not just attached. I can still see it, but I can also see the context around it. I can also see the truth of the matter. I can also see the timeline. I can also see the other things in me that might be reacting to the situation. Zoom out, win some distance to those thoughts and feelings. 1 to 3 to 5 seconds of distance between the thought and the emotion happening and your reaction to it. And in that time, that's when you can choose what you're going to do next. You can choose. You're not ignoring. You're just allowing yourself to observe what's going on inside of you, being curious, and then, as we are in Wise Mind, making the next right decision going forward. That's best for us, that's best for our situation, for our context, for the goal we want to achieve, based on our values, and not controlled by every thought or feeling being urgent. Next time you notice that you are fusing to your thoughts and feelings, take a step back. Stop, take a breath, observe the situation, and then proceed. That is presence in the present moment. STOP, stop, take a breath, observe the situation. That's the context, zooming out again, and then proceed according to your values, what you want, your goals, what's important now. Not just urgency, not just what's right in front of me. It's not possible to do a long-term perspective if we're only looking here. Expanding the mind, allowing ourselves to be uncomfortable for 5 seconds while holding that thought and feeling and allowing it to be there without acting on it, even though it wants us to urgently act on it so that we don't have it anymore. Okay, that thought and feeling is there. How am I going to proceed? Give yourself the time. It really does take patience, and it really will take practice, but the more you can do this in your daily life, the easier it will get on the court, on the mat, on the field, in the gym. I promise. If you can practice diffusing in daily life, in the car, when you're getting cut off, and you want to lay on that horn, take 3 to 5 seconds. If you can master this in a driving situation, you're going to be a lot better off in a sports situation as well. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. Act like it,